Welcome. This is going to be a not too quick video, but not too long. Today we're just going to be looking at the Assimil8Or, which is down here, the Rossum Assimil8Or. I've only had this a couple of days. I've tried to kind of work with it and sort of show you something that's a little bit more different maybe from some of the other videos that you've been looking at, if you've seen any of those. I kind of held off on buying a sampler for quite a while, and to be honest, I use a lot of sampling in terms of Ableton and so on, and I just sort of thought, well, maybe I don't really need one. And then I saw some a couple of videos, and they I suddenly realised that especially with the phase modulation that it sort of incorporates, it's actually kind of like a complex oscillator, and you just basically feed a whole bunch of waveforms from various samples and so on, and sort of see what happens. So I thought that was probably the thing that really kind of sold it to me, really. It seemed kind of really, in some ways, kind of trivial, because you could use like a complex oscillator, right? You could use a complex oscillator. But I was kind of intrigued with the idea of how you might sort of send lots of different types of sources that might not necessarily be the typical ones that you'd find on a complex oscillator. And of course, I've still not got a complex oscillator, which of course, maybe one day I'll rectify that. But for the time being, I'm kind of happy. What you're listening to is a kind of a jammy piece that's being driven by a number of modules. I'm using the micro Ornament and Crime, which is just off to the right, using maths deployed to on the one hand attenuate a value that's coming off the oct, which is just to the right of maths, and then also to do some linear FM, which is controllable here from channel 1, which is in cycle mode. And then over to the other side, on the left of the module, which you also can't see, but I've taken some other footage so you can kind of see it. I'm using the abstract data Octocontroller to kind of drive some of this. And with all of these, I suppose the abstract data is quite a good companion with the sampler, the Assimil8Or, if you actually just want to have something that is more of a kind of a regular kind of trigger source. But I would use my Westlicht performer, excuse me, as the main kind of sequencing source. So this is quite a limited setup in some ways, but I've got an interesting kind of application in using the A and B sections for the Sequins on the micro Ornament and Crime. So let's have a little listen again. What I have here, so I'm just going to mute all of these parts out so that we can hear them individually. What I should probably do is solo them, as a matter of fact. So let's solo them. Let's go the opposite direction, shall we? So what I have here on channel 1 is a noise source. So here we go. We can see the setup here. So this is a noise. I sampled it as C3. I don't know why I labelled it as C3, but that was the key that I triggered when I was, or the pitch that I was at when I did that. One of the interesting things about the Assimil8Or is that is this section down here, where you are able to. So what you can see here is I've got a single trigger source coming in, but all of the channels are being triggered at the same time from this one source. So this is using the sort of the master and the link type setups, and you can see just here at the bottom for channel 7 and 8 I've got the kick drum, which has its own separate source, and kind of a bongo-y, buckler-y one, which is here on channel 8. So that's what we have there. I've got that panned, as you can see here, so when we go into the pan mix, that's the name of the patch, book la la la. So you can see that it's panned all the way over. So if we wanted to change this, click the encoder, and it brings it to the middle and so on, right? That's what you have there. You can set the volume level. I'm not really mixing it at the moment. I'm kind of leaving them pretty much all at the same levels. And then you've got the solo, mute, monitors and so on. If you're going to use the separate outputs, then unless I've read the manual incorrectly, which is always possible, you can't use the stereo outs. So you can't select that. If you, it would be great if the assimilator knew that you were patched into channel 1 and then it would take it out of the sum outputs. But I suppose maybe in an update. So that's the idea that we have there. So this is channel 2. So channel 2 is another noise source. And this noise source is panned, let's see, it's panned over to the other side. I haven't got it sort of panned hard, right? Here, moving around. So you can hear it. So obviously you can automate panning, which is fantastic, because if it was coming out of the individual output, you wouldn't kind of get that advantage. So that's something that we could do there. Let's go to another one. So the first of the melodic parts. Now, what we also have, and this is where it just takes a little bit of, it's not much time, but it takes a little bit of time getting your head around the patch bay that's here. So you've got the gates at the far left, and then you have what is labelled as CV A, B and C. So channel 1, ABC, channel 2, ABC, channel 3, blah, blah, blah. Right, we got that. So when you address the CV input directly, as in a specific one, CVA, so here, let me show you. You see where it says CVA? Because we're in track 2, or channel 2, that means you are directly assessing the ABC here, right? But if you address an addressed output or input, 1A, that's 1A, 2A, 3A. So this allows you to use sources from other CV inputs on and assign them to other channels as well. I think that's probably one of the best things going about this, because it sort of cuts down on the use of using buffered multiples and so on, and actually results in I think will result in some really interesting sort of ideas. So we've got the pitch coming in at A, but actually the pitch for channel 3 here. So if I turn that off, so let me show you that as that's off, addressing CVA, which is this one here. And 1A means we're addressing CV input for lane 1 or channel 1, A. It's about as good as it gets, I'm afraid. So we've got that. What we can also see is underneath I'm using some linear FM as well. Linear FM is coming from CVB, which is this one here, because we're addressing a named CVB. You're looking for it in channel 3's lane here, and I've got that just off to the left with the Zlob Vnicursal or Universal VCA, and I'm using that to sort of do some just linear FM, as you can hear what's going on here. Cool, so that's that one. I don't think there's anything else. Pitch, level. So this is the phase modulation page, but I'm not going to do that today because this is actually a really good one as well. With the mutate, the bit depth, again, not for today, but another day. We'll go through that. Going to mute that. So now in channel 4, we have something of another saw wave, which is 2 octaves below channel 3, so that they work together. 2 octaves apart. Let me put I don't know what I turned on there. Forgive me a second. There we go. The The data too can function as, I believe, as whatever you touch last, but anyway. I went to the wrong, as I said, I only got it a couple of days ago. So that's hearing them as 2 octaves apart. And that's with the linear FM being applied to the one that's at C3. That's good. So we're going to mute both of those out. Bring in the next one. So this is channel 5, and for channel 5 I've got stereo square wave, so that's 5 and 6, so that occupies 2 channels here. So they're basically, so the incoming channel is channel 5, so the sources will be coming from there in terms of CV sources, and then you can see here it's set to stereo and right, which means that it's part of a stereo sample set. Linking the channels and then separating it out so that it no longer receives the information that channel 5 is getting. You can see that from the indicators. And again, you know, same things. You've got the pitch, level stuff. I don't think I've done much in this one at all. Pretty much left as it is, just as a square wave. Should really turn the other one. There we go, in full stereo. And then finally, we have a kick drum. It's quite a messy kick drum. Again, pitch. I had it sort of, I don't know why. You've got the pitch here, no linear FM levels and so on, no phase modulation. I did sort of explore initially the idea of changing the bit depth. So if we took the CVA from channel 3, so that would be 3A, and then change the bit depth. There you go. And then controlling the level. So you can see I'm attenuating the level with using the VCA. And controlling the strength. And again, you've also got the strength here. I'm setting it so that it's a negative. We could just as much set it positive. But of course we don't really hear much because what we want to do is downgrade the bit depth. So the way that I've sort of set this up is like when it starts to poke through, and then attenuate back and basically work out where the kind of median point might be. You can just hear it there. That's the idea there, really. So I had that, so I played around with that idea, and again you might move the, I mean, it can get quite extreme. So it's almost like, it's a bit like you sort of parameterize some parts of the of this kind of modulation source. So it could be, as much as it could be a moving source in terms of an LFO, it could also be like a volt per octave, or the output of a sample and hold. And it just gets harder, right? Let's keep it around about 10. Great. You've also got things like envelopes. I haven't sort of mentioned the envelope, but the envelope is down here. Again, you can modulate the envelope. So here it's about as short as it will get. I've listened to it on one of the other ones. And then finally the last source I have is this kind of buckler bongo-y sort of thing, whatever. You've got the pitch. What I have got is panning. So again, the panning is coming here from CVA. If I take it out, straight up the middle. So CVA is coming down from here. I had to think about where I was for a second, sorry. CVA is coming from here, and this CVA source is coming from the Octocontroller, the abstract data Octocontroller, and basically just modulating it left and right, right? So that's the idea. It's not that exciting, but it's good enough. Okay, so let's have a look at the envelope, because I said we were going to have a look at that. Let's have a look at the envelope in relation to the noise source, first of all. So here is the release. So we can make it quite short, as you can hear. Pretty much full on, and anywhere else in between. What I also have is 3A, which is over here. You can just detect where it's just opening up the envelope release, tightening it up by reducing the CV value coming in and opening it up a bit more. It's kind of a nice way of just, you know, again, it's kind of another thing that makes this assimilator really good, because it sort of reduces the number of potentially housekeeping utility modules that you might require to sort of manage this many sources coming in, especially as these sources can be shared across a number of channels. You know, it means that you could control all of the envelopes you could place them under the control of one CV source. You know. Fantastic stuff. And the interesting thing, I suppose, also about that is that if you're using one input like this one here across 5 or 6 channels, it means that you've still got the rest of your CV inputs available, which means that I'm not sure you'll run out of destinations, but you know, it's kind of worth trying. Who knows? So that's kind of it about the envelopes. I think I'll just open that up a bit more. Close it down. There we go. And it's nice because it helps to sort of bring the rhythm out a bit more. So you can hear there where I've attenuated the envelope, that actually I'm changing the envelopes for a number of channels because everything sort of tightens up a bit more. Okay, so as you can hear there are some other modulations coming in. Now these modulations are coming from the micro Ornament and Crime, and specifically I'm using channel B of Sequins to generate a number of CV offsets, and these CV offsets are coming in through here on this red cable that I'm holding up here. This is going into the Zlob VCA, and then so that I can control the amount of this CV source that's coming in terms of its signal strength. You can just hear it poking through now. So that's with it off, and this is with it on full. This is with it at 75%. This is with it at 50%. So it pretty much disappears. 25% and lower, it disappears from view. So the interesting, I mean, for me, in terms of the interesting things that I like to do and why I'm not necessarily interested in replicating a sequencer like a DAW type sort of sequence parts is just the ease with which you can set up a number of parameters and then actually alter kind of maybe the gate lengths, alter the CV sources or redirect them, attenuate them, boost them, blah blah blah. But also that you can kind of you know, chop one beat off of a repetitive pattern and kind of then create a whole new you know, another variation. So for this one where the square wave keeps popping through, it's a bit like an accent on say a TB303 or something like that. That one there, right? On the Micro Ornament and Crime, which is to the right, I'm really sorry, maybe I can move it. Let me just try and, there we go. Apologies if the shot has gone slightly wrong. There we go. So I'm in channel B, which is here, and then scroll down to the sequencing channel, turn the left encoder to get to the end. Left encoder controls the length of the sequence pattern. So at the moment, hopefully you can see it says 16. What's now going to happen is we're going to make it 15. So that to me is like gold dust, right? I mean, it's not necessarily everyone's cup of tea, but for me, yeah, it's like, you know, changing one thing. I know I can replicate sort of things kind of like this in Ableton. It's actually not a problem, but it's the malleability. I think that's what's really important here. So this is 14. Try 13. I'm not going to make you sit through every single one, by the way. See, to me, I just really love that sort of thing, and some of the stuff that I really love about that is that the way that the accent pattern is sometimes what we could refer to as being on the up. It's not kind of like the upbeat sort of thing, but it's kind of on an up, and then other times it will be on the downbeat. It's if you ever listen to something like King Crimson's Frame by Frame, then the guitar figure that Robert Fripp plays is kind of a good example of that, being you know, in 7/8 and being a time signature of 7, but the pattern is played at a double kind of resolution to that. So what happens is one half of the pattern is on a downbeat and the second half is on an upbeat, and in terms of where it's felt, and that alone is you know, it, to me, is always kind of priceless. If you can bring that kind of subtlety, you know, into there. Let's have a listen to it where it's just threes. So it's 4 with 2 figures. 5. 7. So let's go into A. So A is currently doing 8s. So the other pattern, sorry, I'll turn that down a bit. The other pattern is doing 7s. So let's do this as 5. So that's without the accents. And bringing them in, just basically attenuating them. And obviously, you can just, if you're like me, you'll kind of knock yourself out. So that's pattern A in 3s and pattern B in 7s. So that's with both channels in 8s. It's that subtle shift. It's the movement by 1 makes all the difference. Okay, the last thing is then that I also have a linear FM source that is coming out of maths here. So maths is in cycle, so it's coming in on CV, like channel 3 on the CVB. So let's have a look at that one, shall we? We're going to look at 3 and let's solo that one. Cool. So in the pitch window or the pitch page setting, wherever, we've got CVB from channel 3. So remember, that's the direct, that's addressing the CV input in the currently selected lane, which is 3. So this is, so I want to deal with channel 3. We take care of CV. You can address its own CV inputs or by a number like 3A and so on. So I've got the linear FM is actually really strong, and I think one of the things that's really, again, another one of the good things about the Rossum is that you get this volts per octave, or the volts kind of setting. You can hear the way that the linear FM is really strong here. Plus 200, so 50 is kind of the median, and then for me, I kind of just wanted it to be like a little touch. So 1 feels about as much as it can be. So it will take, and the good thing about this is it will take a positive and negative value. So this is, as you can see from maths, positive, and you can hear the pitch kind of dropping. Now I've got this sort of cycling here. There we go. So we can get a little bit going on. Not much, but something. And again, so here is the same source, CVB, but applied as exponential. And in the exponential FM, you can get a bit more audio rate modulation. You can make it quite clangorous. It's not too bad. So lots of really interesting things that you can do there, right? Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that. If you've got any comments, leave them below. If you have any questions and you would like a bit more sort of clarification about some things, then let me know. I'm always happy to make another video or to send some screenshots and stuff. You know, it's totally fine. If you've liked it, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.